I'm actually the opposite. I'm a huge believer of working with friends and family because I know them, because I like them, because I trust them. And typically I surround myself with like-minded people who are achievers as well. Of course, I want great people in my organization. The problem with working with friends and family for most people is that they're not open and honest with them and they don't set expectations.
Welcome everybody to the 85th missing episode of the MiamiTech Pod. That sounds like we've missed 85 episodes, but no, it was just the one. I'd love to introduce our two guests today, but before that, I'm joined by my partner in crime here, Maria Derchi. Our other co-hosts are lost in the woods somewhere. Please send help for them. We don't know where Caesar or Will have gone, but hopefully they'll return at some point. But yeah, so we're joined by our two lovely guests, Ed and Cary of Tempmee. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves more properly. But thank you for joining us. We got a great episode today, folks. And yeah,
welcome to the pod, guys.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having us.
So happy to be here. So happy to be here. I'm Cary, better looking one. This is Ed, the deep radio voice.
One with the hair. Yeah, I'm Edward Thomas, one of the co-founders at Tempmee here.
Cool, guys. So you guys are both originally from Michigan, right?
That is true.
So how long have you guys been in Miami now?
So that is true. We were both born and raised in northern Michigan, a really small town named Gaylord. And I actually moved down to Miami in 2012, like beginning of 2012. I had started an internet marketing agency, and I was living in northern Michigan. It was freezing cold, and it was like December or January, and I came down to Miami for a trade show and sat by the pool, hung out in my swimsuit, worked on the laptop, and I went back north. And I told my wife, I was like, "We're doing this wrong. Why are we going up here?" So we made a plan and we moved down very shortly after. And then I bugged Ed for, I don't know, about 8 years after that, telling him got to move south.
Yeah. Oh, and I for those 8 years I was like, nope, I lived in Chicago. So you're telling me it has everything Chicago has. It's congested, it's expensive, there's people everywhere, plus it's wildly hot. I was like, absolutely not. That sounds like a terrible idea. But Miami is one of my favorite places that I've ever lived. It's a beautiful city. I've been here 4 years, almost 4.5 years now. I moved down from Michigan. I was living in Lansing, Michigan at the time, building a division of an architecture and engineering firm. Really didn't think that I was going to leave. I had just bought my house, or a couple of years before, really settling in. And then Cary and I came up with the idea for Tempmee, and we knew one of the things that would make it go faster that we really believed in was building it side by side. Building it in person was going to make a huge difference. And so sold my house, sold my car, sold my my division, my shares of my business, threw my cat in a minivan, drove 24 hours, came down to an apartment that Cary had found for me, sight unseen.
He trusts me deeply.
Trust him emphatically. And been here ever since. It's been awesome. So, yep, Miami about 4 years.
Yeah. And his welcome to Miami was exactly that. So I went and found him a condo. He was like, "Hey, find me some place." I looked at a bunch of condos, and I found this killer condo right on the water, right downtown, with a beautiful view of the bay. And I was like, "Man, this thing is way underpriced." I was like, "I don't know how I found this for you. You're a lucky man, Ed. Let's buy it." And he not buy it, but he leased it. When he moved down, the day he got here, we found out why it was so affordably priced. Was because the day he came down here, they broke ground on the Aston Martin building across the street from him, which was jackhammering and bright lights 24 hours a day for about 3 years as they covered his view in about 2 weeks. It was a good deal for.
You can put in earplugs, but there's not much that stops the vibration when they're drilling into the bedrock. So that was
our first issue we had to work through.
Miami, still good.
So I'm assuming you're not living in that apartment still, or you doubled down and you got a second apartment right next door.
No, are you kidding me? I've done it the whole time. I was like, you know what's going to make me tough? Not sleeping. What'll prepare you for an entrepreneurial journey? A little bit
That's hustling.
Oh, yeah, a little bit like torture. I was like, can they blast lights through it and keep me awake 24 hours a day? Let's go. Let's get tough. No, I wasn't there for much more than, I think, 6-8 months, but still in the same building. Beautiful. I actually, I love downtown Miami. I think Cary had been in Brickell, but Miami downtown is where I've always been, where our offices have been. So it's cool. It's the first time I've ever been a pedestrian. Like, normally, people live in the suburbs or commute back, or, being from some of the bigger cities in Michigan, you have to drive everywhere. So it's pretty cool to actually be like a Miami downtowner be able to walk to work, take some of the downtown transportation and things like that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for those who are watching on YouTube, if not, you should, because they have an incredible view of downtown Miami, these swanky new offices.
Yeah, yeah. We're in the Miami Tower, right downtown. It's actually kind of one of those cool things. Almost, I don't know, dream come true is the right word, but like when I moved here 12 years ago, like I'd always take the people mover and get off at the night station, which is in the Miami Tower, and I'd go down through the building, this big, beautiful building that lights up, that overlooks all Miami, and then I'd go to like a dungy, crummy building on a really dark street down here to go build a business. And I was like, man, one day we'll get to work in that office. And yeah, that day came.
We do. And it's like a Miami cultural, like architectural icon, right? It's the Miami Towers building, but it's where Gloria Estefan filmed the Turn the Beat Around music videos. If you ever go on YouTube, Google Gloria Estefan Turn the Beat Around, she's on the top of our building with a helicopter circling around like purple lights. It's the coolest thing. I show it to like all my friends and family. They're like, so what is Miami like? I was like, it's exactly like that.
I'm going to make sure that our editor, Brian, who's also named Brian, inserts that clip, but just enough so we don't get hit for copyright infringement. So it may only be 3 seconds. Yeah. So.
Well, I feel like this is full circle because you mentioned that, you know, your old office used to be in this dungeon, and your old company On the Map actually, I believe, built the Refresh website like 2 websites ago.
Yes, we did.
Pro bono, so thank you so much for that.
I had very little to do with building it.
This is such a small world. Yeah, this is such a small world. I didn't know that you were part of On the Map. Like, I didn't connect the dots, so to speak.
Yeah, man. On the Map is still here in Miami. They're huge. They're exploding. Now the CEO there is Christoph Sprankins, who's world class and amazing. And yeah, man, I think back then we built it with our CTO at the time, Josh Martinez, and the group. And so, yeah, man, it's an awesome company and they're killing it. And we hire them to do a bunch of our web work. So,
yeah. Josh's older brother was one of the original partners on Refresh Miami, and I was a groomsman in his wedding, and I've been very close to those guys for a long time. But,
right on, very cool, very. Well, Miami's kind of like that. I love to say it's like a super small big city or super big small city. You know, like I feel like when you hang out downtown, you get to know everyone. You hang out in Brickell, you get to know everybody. Everyone's kind of connected there, and yeah, absolutely. Actually, we. That this is off the side, but we actually recruited Josh Martinez to be our CTO at that company. We needed some tech talent, and Refresh was having like a mixer, but it was like hardcore on the mixer. It said no recruiting, no recruiters, don't come recruit. And so I came there and hardcore recruited every single engineer I could find there. And Josh
always a rebel. This one, look at him.
I gotta let Josh know we're dropping his name a bunch. His ears are probably ringing.
He's probably like, Brian has a podcast? What?
He's probably like, Cary's doing what?
He's probably like, Brian.
Who's Brian? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, it's true. Miami is very much like the biggest little town, you know, like where everybody is just 1 or 2 degrees separated from everyone else, you know.
But that's so amazing about Miami. And I love that you say that, because that is, for years I was saying to Ed, like, you have to move to Miami. You have to move to Miami. I was like, I don't understand why Miami isn't the biggest tech city in the world. And I kept saying it because I was like, it's beautiful weather. You literally live in paradise. You're surrounded by water. There's smart people, exciting people doing big things. Obviously, great business, government, and great taxes. And then the size was huge. That was the thing that really made me fall in love with Miami. Was everyone was willing to introduce you or to connect you, or everyone was just wants everyone else to really win here. And we benefited so much from great people like Maria here and like all the OGs here in Miami. And then on top of that, that's been one of the most rewarding things for us, which is getting to kind of pay some of that forward a little bit. Like it's funny, like coming in the office and seeing like there's always like these new like up a rising star tech guys coming in, meeting with Ed, picking his brain. And I'm always laughing because I'm like, you mean that, Ed?
Yeah.
But no, but it's so cool to get to see it kind of pay forward.
And I never thought of Miami being like a big, small town. So like Maria introduced us around a lot initially. And I always thought she was just super duper duper famous. We're just getting like the star treatment. That's what I always assumed that
it was like her and Gloria.
Totally misled.
I mean, you should totally see her Gloria Estefan impersonation. And then it's full circle.
That's 100%.
We're definitely gonna get sued for that.
Yeah, one mojito at ball and chain. We'll still dance. It's gonna be great.
Well, I definitely want to mention, we are Florida Funders, proud investors in Tempmee, and want to get to the origin story of, you guys sounded like you were both in very different businesses. You were running a marketing agency, you an architectural firm,
Engineering firm, construction.
Sorry, engineering firm. Like, how did this even come about?
Yeah, it's the origin of all good businesses. It started with a bar. So one of my very, very good friends in Lansing, Michigan, she's a 30-year dental hygienist and office manager, and her and her husband own an elevator company and a golf resort and also a bar and grill. And so knew her from one of those venues, and I'm not a good golfer. So she was just sitting down having a conversation one day saying, like, there has to be a better way. As a dental professional, she was used to seeing patients. She had a lot of friends that made a really good living but wanted to make ends meet. But they didn't want to do it driving Uber. They didn't want to drop off groceries. They felt like they had this really amazing in-demand skill that they wanted to be paid for. So she had that side of the equation. And on the other side of the equation, she had a bunch of friends that were office managers that couldn't keep their office fully staffed. And so she had one of those, there has to be a better way moment. I had known that Cary had sold into the dental space before. And truthfully, it's just kind of something that we've always done. You hear a good idea, something kind of come across your radar, and you think, I want to talk to Cary. I want to talk to Ed about it. I want to get an idea of what they think. And so I picked up the phone and called Cary and said, hey, what do you think about this? The original iteration, the seed of the idea was something along the lines of a calendar swap app. And Cary very famously said,
that is quite possibly the worst idea I've ever heard. He literally called me. He's like, what do you think about this idea? Well, I even have to step back because, like, having, building a digital marketing agency, we developed a bunch of apps, and that was one of the things is you develop apps and people find out about it. They always ask, like, everyone's got an idea.
Oh.
I got the best idea for an app. And they're always like, Amazon meets eBay meets Uber, but better. And you're like, okay. But yeah, so he calls and he tells me it's a calendar swap app, so a hygienist doesn't want to work or needs a day off. Then she tells her friend and they switch the shift. And I was like, there's no way to monetize this thing. It's people trading shifts. Like, and what happens when the dentist finds out? They're gonna just be like, cool, yeah, send someone else to put their hands in my patient's mouth.
Who's gonna want their employees swapping shifts with somebody they don't know? And how are you gonna monetize? What do you do? Run ads? Like, that's just an awful business plan. There's no way to monetize it. So
yeah, but so I was just gonna. It was a Friday at 3 o'clock.
So you just berated him for the rest.
I was just ruthless.
He was like, "Don't waste my time with those ideas."
Click. I'm a very important man. I have many leather-bound books. And so literally I hang up with him and I walk down, and this is literally right down to Miami. I walk down to Starbucks and I'm kind of thinking about this. And I was like, I don't know how big the industry is. What is it? And when I look online, I think how big is it? And it says something like, oh, there's, 300,000 dental offices in the country. And I was like, for reference, I'm standing next to Starbucks. How many Starbucks are there? And I realized there's about 15,000 Starbucks. And at that minute, I was like, wait a second. There's 15 times as many dental offices as there are Starbucks. And there's a Starbucks on every corner. Maybe there is something to this. And that was literally...
Well, he kind of did that research, came back a couple hours later, and he just took a deep breath and said, what if we Uberized it? And at the time, we really didn't have an idea of a marketplace, a healthcare marketplace, something like that. But what do we Uberize it? That's something that everybody recognized. And so he and I took a deep breath, set aside some things. He canceled date night with his wife. And one of the things that he and I do really well together is just dissect an idea, look at it from 360 degrees. He takes an angle, I take an angle, and we break it down. And one of the companies Cary and I had built early together, we utilized a lot of just very, very simple email marketing, building lists and things like that. And it was 10 years earlier, but we were able to look at the state licensing board and go, holy moly, everybody on both sides of this marketplace is listed on a state website. I bet we can do some really damage with this from a very simple marketing perspective. And so we just kind of looked at that and decided that we were going to break it down and figure out what it could turn into. And that simple conversation, we really broke down what we thought first step, second step, and 56th step for Tempmee would be. And it was an awesome, awesome conversation that luckily didn't get him in too much trouble because he canceled date night.
Yeah, I had to cancel date night. But so that's back early 2019. We start deving. We hire our engineer off Upwork, and it goes terrible, which is hilarious because I have a company that's doing it, but I was like, I don't want to use any company resources. So we hire an engineer off Upwork, and it gets it just doesn't go anywhere. So we actually leaned on Josh Martinez, and I asked him, I was like, hey, do you know anybody? We ended up hiring a great engineer that just came out of boot camp, literally 6-week boot camp over at Iron Hack or something like that. And he actually built the MVP from start to finish. We launched in October of 2019, so about 10 months later there. And it was special. When we launched, all of a sudden, like, just people started signing up. It was that, I don't know, it's that thing you dream of where it's like, we actually had like a little chime on our admin site, and it was like, ding, 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 and we're like, holy cow, you laughing?
That's revisionist history.
Oh!
I know people did sign up, and every time they did, we were wildly excited.
That's how I felt.
But
so it happened fast.
But it was still awesome. Doesn't matter. My favorite thing is talking to Cary about the first one signs up. There's a dental office. The dental office posts a shift. There's like 3 hygienists in the area. we actually like individually text them. Hey, I know you have this app, but have you checked it? You know, there's a job on there. If somebody picks it up, and we're like, oh, no way. And then 2 days later, I think the person actually worked the shift, and we were so excited. We were like, it worked. That actually went all the way through the process. It worked. If we could do 1, we could do 100. But it was crazy feeling like that went from the world's most expensive hobby of year of building it, or year and a half of building it, to the world's least profitable business. But it was awesome that it actually happened. It's for any entrepreneurs that are like kicking it around. It's just one of the coolest moments to think something that you drew up on paper. And I'm looking across, like I'm looking at the camera, but on the other side, we actually have a sticky note of all the app that Cary and I drew up. I came down as we were doing design and development. We put big sticky notes on his condo wall and actually like drew the app up with pen and paper, then took it to a world-class designer who designed it. But that was part of it. But to see something go from your mind onto paper to graphical design into an engineer's hands who makes it functional, and then it goes into the world and it actually works, is like one of the coolest experiences of my life. So it was just awesome. Yep, it was buggy. Yep, we have revisionist history about how well it went. But it was just an amazing, amazing feeling. So
I thought you were going to say you guys dressed up as like a hygienist and just like did the shifts while
well, that would
early days.
That would be hardcore against the law. But I asked Ed to do it. He just wouldn't do it. But that actually,
we'll break a few texting laws here and there. No, but we are not crossing.
We will not community. Ever. But that was actually that to me was actually one of the best lessons early on. Like Ed and I we heard so many people, and still today we hear so many people talk about like wanting to start business and wanting to start something, wanting to do something, needing the moon to be in the right place and enough money and everything has to be perfect. And from the beginning, Ed would always go around just being like, let's just do stuff that doesn't scale. Like, let's just MVP it. Let's just, it could be crap. Like it was really even funny launching just the idea of where like half our tech was sneaker wear, like it was literally like they pressed a button and then we got an email and we just did all the work, like they thought like, oh, the app's working in the background. And we're like, nope, the app just sends us a notification that we got to go send 1,000 texts, but just doing something. I think that was one of the biggest things that early on we learned. It was like, show up, like I think 99% of success is doing something, showing up, the other 1% is showing up on time with a good attitude.
Oh, well, there's a saying out there somewhere, like if you're able to write out the problem, you have it half solved. It's something along those lines. Cary is world class at being like, let's just get it down on paper, make a bullet point, make an outline, start with something, like, because so many times it's easy to walk around and like wait to start, and instead of breaking it down to really manageable chunks. And so do something, pull out your laptop, start bulleting point stuff out. It's unbelievable how those small steps really do it. But there was so much that we did early on where it was like, all right, what is the simplest thing that we can do right now that like just moves the needle at all? Cary and I, again, we talked about it, like we're both working at other places when the idea started. And so we'd get up before work and like make phone calls. He and I have both pretty extensive sales experience. So it'd be like, all right, I'm going to make 50 calls. You make 50 calls. Let's see if we can get somebody to actually like sign up for the app. And we did that for a couple of weeks.
7:30 to 8:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. And then sometimes a little at lunch. And then even sometimes right after work, like 6 o'clock. That sucked, but it worked.
The early days. It's always fun.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, like from a strategy standpoint, how did you guys decide like which side of the marketplace to fill first, right? Because that's always a challenge in a two-sided marketplace. Is are the buyers, the sellers, the ones you want to accumulate first? Who's more patient, and so on. Like, so I'm curious how you guys went about recruiting on both ends.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Like, there's the answer that sounds good and the real one. I mean, I think the answer that sounds good is like figure out what the hard side of the market is, figure out where the shortage is, and go pay that. And that's a really good advice. Actually, the best book ever for building marketplace is Andrew Chen from A16Z, The Cold Start Problem. The book is amazing. It is the Bible of building marketplaces, and everyone in our company's read it.
Yep.
I love it. It's amazing. But for us, we just tried both at the exact same time. We shotgun blasted as hard as we could. We were email marketing the hygienists at the time, because now we have all the providers on our platform, but they were just hygienists then. And then we were cold calling and emailing dental offices. And we were really just hammering the phone and email to anyone who'd talk to us and just asking them like, hey, create a free account. Here's how it works. Oh, we don't need it. It doesn't matter. It's free. Create it anyways. And
that's too funny. The in-app notifications initially were a little buggy, a little glitchy. Something about tokens didn't always work great. But because they'd come through, signed the terms and conditions, Cary and I would actually like built out an external texting platform. We were using Text Us or Twilio or something along those lines. But we would actually like drop in their phone number from the app, send a text message manually, get a response, manage it from that way. Because sometimes, again, we weren't 100% sure if they were seeing the information through the app. It was just crazy. Talk about like things that don't scale. But yeah, that one was sort of like throw everything at the wall, hope something or another sticks, and then try to do it again. But like Cary said, Andrew Chen, one of his big things is if you have a chicken the egg problem, which is a marketplace, buy the chicken. Awesome to say now, 2 years in, but at the time it was like, you know what? We don't have a chicken or an egg. Let's just run.
And we certainly didn't have any money.
Yeah, let's just run around the farm as fast as we can. We'll spin something up.
I was going to say another way of like looking at this, and like advice that I've given a lot of the entrepreneurs here at Launchpad is like the person who's most likely to be most patient in a two-sided marketplace is the one who's likely to make money versus the one who's looking to spend money, right? And
Very
so the
true.
seller in this case would be the hygienists, right? Because they're the ones who are going to earn, right? And so like you can get a hygienist to wait around longer than you can, a dental clinic that needs someone now.
That is very true. And that actually, it's funny that you say that, because that was the first place that we went to go recruit. We were like, all right, so where can we find hygienists that will sign up for our platform? And I always think of like, okay, where do hygienists get together? You're like, oh, there's American Dental Hygienists Association, or there's like dental societies. And then I was like, yeah, but where do people go when they want to work? Where do people go when they're insanely desperate, dying for work? And I was like, Craigslist. And so we just posted ads everywhere on Craigslist. And that was awesome. It absolutely worked. So
that's Cary's like just bread and butter and like foundational stuff of being a guerrilla marketer. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And what's the easiest, simplest way? It doesn't have to be sexy. It doesn't have to be the world's greatest thing. Like breaking it down to simple parts. Where are people looking for work? And where do I know that I can get that information to them? Craigslist. Let's go. Let's get some ads posted. And I was like, we're going to post on Craigslist? No, dude, we're a tech company. We're a startup. We can't be posted on Craigslist. And then it ended up being one of literally our best recruiting sources for a very, very long time. It was a great thing to process.
And for the other side of the market, which I thought was so valuable, I know Peter Thiel has 0 to 1 book came out a long time ago, but like the idea of like you have to build something that's a level of magnitude better. And we really believed what we did was a level of magnitude better than like what was currently out there. So I asked myself like, okay, well, where are these dental offices trying to find workers? And we're like, all right, well, Indeed or that stuff. And so we just went on there. We looked at everyone who had an ad and we applied for every single one of those jobs and called them about those jobs and then said, yeah, we got something that's a level of magnitude better.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's been, 5 years now? We're 5 years in?
4 years, 8 months.
Oh, okay. And
we had a fight about this yesterday. That's why
you gotta carry the two, but yeah, that's right.
Ed's bad at counting.
Actually, that's something I wanted to ask you guys. You mentioned a fight. Okay, you guys have been friends, since college, since childhood?
21 years.
Yeah. Starting a business together, I can only imagine how stressful that is, and keeping that business running. What are any tips for people who are starting businesses with friends or family, but friends too? How do you guys make sure it works, it doesn't strain the relationship?
For us, I'll answer two. Is one, for us, we had worked together in a couple of different capacities, big things, little things. And so we got to cut our teeth on a couple of things that I think were less likely to explode, right? They didn't have that existential, oh my God, if it doesn't work, I moved across the country and quit my job. What am I going to do? Like, we worked at a few things together and we got to build the trust that not only do we like each other personally, but on a professional level that we could work together. So we got to already have that foundation. So I would say just kind of one of those advice pieces is, if this is your dream position and you're starting this company for the first time and you're ready to go out and take on the world, and it's somebody that is a friend of yours that you've never worked with before, I would caution you to maybe think through that a little bit more. And if you can't do that, you're ready to rock and roll. One of the things that has served Cary and I well when we've come across new territory, because like we've known each other for 20 years, we've worked on a few companies together, built a business together. When we come across things that we haven't done together, sitting down and having a conversation about expectations, roles, and accountabilities was the greatest thing ever. We get that question all the time. Well, as co-CEOs and co-founders, like who gets to decide the final say? And we say it depends on the subject. We've assigned certain accountabilities to the other party where he and I almost always come to a consensus. We might not agree, but by able to sit down, have a very good conversation, which has taken time. That was a skill set that we've developed. But if we'll try to come to a consensus, and if we really can't come to a consensus, we go back to decisions that we made months before and said, that's your accountability. Somebody has to eventually make the decision. So that's something that has worked for us. Again, the history, go a little slow. But if you can't do that, make sure you sit down with whoever that good friend and that partner is. Look them in the eye and make sure that you want to go, right? It's not easy. Think of it like a marriage. If you're not willing to go all, through the thick and thin with that person, probably not a great idea. And if you still want to do it anyway, really sit down before you have those decisions to make and figure out who's going to be accountable for a final decision on any of those things. And then honor that arrangement. No takesies, backsies. I think that's been something we've done pretty well.
That's really good. My answer was going to be like, well, you should know them for 20 years first. That's a good start because at least have gone through some stuff. No, my answer is obviously exactly the same as Ed's about that. People have always told me in when I built companies and in all the companies that I built and ran, and even the one that sold, they've said like, don't work with friends and family. And for me, I'm actually the opposite. I'm a huge believer of working with friends and family because I know them, because I like them, because I trust them. And typically I surround myself with like-minded people who are achievers as well. Of course, I want great people in my organization. The problem with working with friends and family for most people is that they're not open and honest with them and they don't set expectations. And so for myself, for Ed, for our team, we are explicitly clear about what we are doing, where we want to go, and what we expect. And that goes a long way. I think a lot of people aren't aligned on their vision. One thing you'll hear at our company, and especially about Ed and I, is that we are very aligned, but that doesn't just happen by accident. I mean, yesterday, Ed and I literally played hooky. We canceled every meeting on our books, and we went and rented office space at the Hub down in Edgewater, and just to spend one full day together, just getting aligned. We literally sat down. I said, hey, you write on one side of the board, write every single thing that's on your mind right now, everything that's stressing you out, everything that's keeping you up at night, what is working, what's not working, everything you want to talk about. I'll write on the other. I think he wrote 32 things and I wrote 33 things. Many were the same. And then we went through and we just force ranked what's most important. And then we talked through everything yesterday, including what's our next 3 to 5 years look like? Yep. Where's the business going? Here's some new projects we're working on. What's that? What about finances or where we want to go? Or even we talked about role. Like, what do you like about your role? What do you hate about your role? What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? And so that's what I mean by being explicit is hard work. It takes a lot of time, but we actually spend that time doing it. And then we're able to make hard and good decisions when we're level-minded, when we're level, our emotions aren't high, like able to say, okay, Ed handles this part of the business, Cary handles this part of the business. We seek to come together and share, come to a consensus on it. But if we can't, Ed has final call over there, Cary has final call over here, and that goes a long way. And when the emotions are high, or when you are in a dispute, or you don't make new decisions when you're upset. You stick to the ones you already made. And we've been doing that for a long time, and it's worked really well.
Something else we did on that like little exercise yesterday that I loved is you and I both probably put 5 or 6 things on the board that weren't making us anxious, that we didn't need to solve. We had probably already solved them because they were our accountability, but we didn't know if the other person knew. So it was like, oh yeah, this is just a headline. It's actually a message. I didn't know if you knew, because it is easy when somebody knows 99% of what's going on to assume that they know 100% and then not be like, oh, actually, I've made the decision. We're working on this, but it's actually important for you to know this thing, just to have visibility into it. You and I each did that a couple of times yesterday, and I thought that was pretty awesome, just because like, oh yeah, I didn't know. I have no insight. Now I do know, and I feel better, and nothing's going to catch me off guard, when this becomes something a little bit more important. So,
yeah. And maybe just to drive it home, the very last thing I'd say is actually it's something that I've been married to my wife for 12 years, and we've been together for 16 years. Not as long as Ed and I have been together, obviously, 21 years, as he likes to tell her. But my wife and I do it just as Ed and I do. But like, we spend a lot of time dream building, and we spend a lot of time talking about our vision. Like, what are we actually building? Because at home in a marriage with 2 kids, and at work with 140 kids, it can be. I thought you were gonna laugh at that. I don't feel listened to.
Oh man, there's
No,
I
no,
was actually thinking how many kids there actually are now. There's
there's a ton.
2 at home and 178 here.
No, but the idea of us being on the same page, having the same vision, having the same mission and core values, like without that, it's going to be impossible for anyone to work with friends, or let alone just work with anybody. I mean, how often did it work out roommating with people?
Never. And that's, the big ones do, and then really simple dumb rules. I know a lot of couples do it. Karen and I do. The nights that we were working late, 6:30, 7 o'clock, we would sit down to actually work on the business, especially early on. That was some of our biggest brawls, and it was really over really, really silly things like, well, should it be called this or that? I don't like that color. Don't start a sentence like that. Like really nitpicky things. And what we actually set for a rule was we have to have dinner first. We're going to work late. Uber Eats comes in. We're going to have a dinner together, 20 minutes, eat, get some food in our systems, and go. Setting some of those rules in place also really, really, really helped avoid some really dumb fights. So that's don't go to bed.
Yeah, no hangriness here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of curious. Like the concept for Tempmee is really interesting. Have you guys thought about like what other markets and industries this formula works for, or are you more like concerned with, you know, finishing this project before you start the next one, so to speak?
That's an awesome question. I guess the first thing is I love everyone we talk to now. We've been blessed and really, and you know, had some great successes, and everyone's like, this is such a great idea. And I was like, where were all of you when we were asking for money 3 years ago? No one told us it was a good idea then. Dental? Does anyone go see a dentist? Do they even exist? But yes, we've had a lot of success in this industry, but we have like half of 1% market share. Like we haven't scraped the surface. We haven't even touched it. I mean, it cracks me up. We're something really. Our very first market we ever opened was Tampa, Florida, and I don't know why I said. I was like, I don't know why I said Florida. This is a Miami, Tampa, Florida. You know, but Tampa, Florida. But we opened it. Yes, they're doing great things there. But so we opened up in Tampa, and last month, something like 1 out of 9 hygienists in the city of Tampa worked on our platform. 1 out of 11 offices used us. Like, it's crazy. Like 10% of the entire market in Tampa is using us. And still, we don't even, I mean, that's nothing. We think there's massive depth that we could still drive in Tampa alone. And so, yeah, that was a very long way of saying, like, I believe that there's so much depth in dental alone that we got to drive it. We just brought on assistants at the beginning of the year, dental assistants. We actually just launched our beta of dentists last month, and so like we haven't even rolled that out to the rest of the country. So that's really exciting. But the short is we've also narrowed down about 60 other categories that would be primed for us to lift and shift into. And for me, I love new shiny things, so I would really love to go into all 60 of them tomorrow. But that's why having a great partner like Ed is awesome there to say, yeah, let's do it. No, to say
immediately, let's do it faster. We cannot do it enough. All 60 tomorrow immediately. But I think more than looking at any specific industry, and like Cary did a great job of like breaking them down and creating a pretty in-depth matrix of what would work. I always talk about the people that we're hiring, right, for their skill sets, what they do, the processes that we're building, the product that we're developing. What can we apply to another vertical? And I think those all hold. And I think Cary's done a great job of kind of defining what they look like. But I also think we're catching a really, really big macro trend, right? The idea of 40 years of a straight through work. I'm going to graduate from college. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to work there for 4 decades straight. I'm going to take my 2 to 3 weeks off a year. And then I'm going to retire. That's just not the way people think about work anymore. We're catching that macro trend where people want more flexibility. People are very comfortable entering and exiting the workforce a lot more than they have been in any other generation. I think, 2 generations ago or a generation ago, our parents, if we were like, hey, I'm going to take a year off to travel, people would have been like, "Are you crazy? What about your career? Nobody's going to hire you with that resume gap. What are you doing?" And now everybody goes like, "That makes sense. Why would you put that off? You're going to
Those are
come
the
back
best interviews when people come in here
Yeah.
with a year off and they're like, "Oh, I was in
Yeah.
Bangladesh." You're like, "That's amazing."
because we're like, that's awesome. So it means you can start, stop, see something through. Like nobody expects somebody to work full time 40 years straight anymore. And so we're catching those macro trends. And obviously, work from home, hybrid work is something that's available to a lot of different positions. But people that apply a physical skill, people that work with their hands, think like a dental hygienist, they really don't have that opportunity. So the best thing that we could give them for flexibility is the ability to work when they want, where they want, for how much they want. And whether we apply that to dental or 60 or 100 other industries, I really do think that we're just tapping into something that is really going to be the future of work.
Ed always calls it launching the skill sharing revolution. And I truly believe that is what we're doing, because not only is this huge for our providers, which I mean is amazing, but for the industry, like medical, like healthcare, like dental care, they don't have another solution. It's critically short staffed. There's less than 0.5% unemployment in the whole industry. There's everyone's short staffed. And on top of that, 30% of the market is aging out. Like they have to, our industry has to change what they're doing and has to find better solutions. And luckily we're it.
I feel like I would need a lot of beers to keep talking more about macro versus micro impact and things like that. And I also try to avoid being like labeled as the professor or the pontificator here, you know, and having too many opinions on things that I don't actually know about. But no, I think this is really interesting, and you know, I'm very fascinated to see, you know, where this goes, and like I can't wait to see some random TikTok come up in my feed of like some dental hygienist saying how she makes all her money on Tempmee, you know, and that's when I'll know like you guys have sort of broken out, you know, through the barrier. Granted, I'm probably not going to get targeted for that algorithm of dental hygienist talk or whatever you want to call it.
We definitely have a lot of awesome influencers. So I was cracking up because I'm looking at Maddie, who's over here working on our social. I'm like, send Brian, get him in there, tag him.
Yeah.
There really are actually. We've affiliated with some folks that are like TikTok hygienist influencers, and they have a great following because I think it is something they're so passionate about. It ends up being a lifestyle. So
yeah. No, it's crazy. Like there's influencers of every tiny little sub vertical niche, you know, quadrant of the internet now. But the fact of the matter is like vertical SaaS can apply to like any single, you know, sliver. So no, but this is really fascinating, guys. I appreciate you guys taking the time.
Well, now that you've said it enough times around your phone, I'm sure you're going to get started getting served.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's true. I may have to like take night classes to become a hygienist at this point.
Yeah,
dude, they are in demand. We can find you some shifts. Absolutely, man. Think about it.
Look, there's probably better career prospects for a dental hygienist than podcaster at this point. And I hate to break it to you guys, since you guys are starting your podcast soon, you know. So,
oh, it's all about having that built-in audience. You know, a lot of hygienists want to hear it.
That's true.
No, but we really appreciate this. It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to get you on, so I'm glad we finally made this happen. Is there any asks of the community you want to make? Other than dental hygienists, make sure to get on the platform.
Well, yeah.
All of our audience of dental hygienists.
Well, actually, but the reason why we, besides the fact of loving you guys, loving the podcast, and enjoying to talk about what we do, like we build in Miami. Our office is here. Almost 99.9% of our staff works here in our office in Miami. We have awesome jobs with great people, killer benefits, great pay. Ed is all about it, and we have a lot of fun. But not just that. So we're always looking for brilliant, smart people, and we are hiring for everything. We're getting ready to scale up again. We went from 8 people 2 years ago to 40 last summer to 170 or 100 something now, and we'll be double this, I'm sure, next year. And so like we are always looking for smart people, whether you're in sales or marketing or you're an engineer or whatever it is. Come talk to us, because we're sure you're tired of working at whatever company you work there. Come hang out with us. We're more fun and growing faster. That's my big ask is anybody there. And the other one is also Ed and I are really, really bought in on Miami's tech ecosystem. While Ed and I are not huge, not networking, but like going to the open bars and that stuff. I have little kids at home.
Hold on.
Okay. I don't want to talk for the big guy here.
Speak for
Well,
yourself.
I mean, I'm into open bars.
Yes.
No, but while he and I are not out doing all the networking, we're hugely invested that Miami's tech ecosystem not only continues to thrive, but actually takes that next level leap. And for us, we love to be there to help. A lot of people helped us out along our way, and we haven't arrived. We still need lots of help, so we'll take it all from everybody. But also, we'd love to pass it forward and pass it on. And Miami's a great place to build. Encourage anyone who's not here to come and build here. Even test it out, you'll love it. But the other side is any way we can help, man. I said it earlier that Ed mentors and coaches a bunch of people. I try to as much as I can as well, and it's something we truly find is a blessing to us. So we love that.
Ditto.
So, how can people find you guys on the interwebs? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, go to the other podcast, LLC podcast. I think I give Ed's phone number on it. Being funny, they did not edit that out, so don't do that because he got some phone calls. No, you can find us at Tempmee, TEMPMEE.com, or you can call any of our numbers here.
Yeah,
how do people find us?
Cary's cell phone number is personal email address.
Yeah.
No.
But
Home
yeah,
address.
info@Tempmee. You can reach out to us. Literally, while being a fast-growing company, you call, text, or social, whatever social things we do to each other. You do that stuff, you'll get connected with us easy.
Yeah, and obviously we know Maria, and Maria knows everybody else. So if anybody's listening and wants to get a hold of us, get a hold of Maria. She'll figure it out.
Call Maria. It's 305.
Fun fact, Maria does not have a
I
305
know.
phone number. It is
And
the
Brian
biggest
does
shame
not.
in her life. She has
Maria.
I
Yeah.
know. I've had my phone number since high school, and I did not get a 305. They gave me a damn
no.
7861. And now there's a third one coming out. I don't even know what that one is.
Really?
Well, anyways, guys, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the episode 85, the missing episode. And it was missing from everybody's life, and that's what they'll
Here it is.
now. And so, everybody, you heard it here first. Ed and Cary, co-founders of Tempmee, they're hiring. They have the best dental insurance in the biz. So, not only can you work for them, your teeth will be taken care of by one of the people in their network. You know,
Or Ed.
Depending
At
on how
your
many
desk.
drinks he's had. And so, thank you guys. This has been a pleasure. This will be dropping soon. So, I can't wait to have you guys for an in-person with a drink. You know, the bottle of champagne in there has been catching my eye the whole time. So.
Well, it means the world to us that you guys asked us to be on, and so happy to be here. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, Brian, thank you. Maria, thank you so much. And truthfully, anytime you guys want to come by, we'd love to host you in person, show you around, and just connect. It's awesome.
We'll crack into that champagne bottle.